Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday meditation. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click the subscribe button below to receive updates and notifications. Today we're joined by Ian Patrick, who will lead us in meditation. Then we're going to have 20 minutes of silence, and then we'll open it up for sharing. Over to you, Ian.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Hi, it's lovely to be back doing this meditation again. Dan forgot to mention I'm the founder of the Miracle Network, just in case, but I guess everyone knows that. Just a small detail. Okay, today's meditation is going to be based on the section in the course called The Forgotten Song, which you're no doubt familiar with. It's a section I love. I love the practical aspects of the Course in Miracles, like about forgiveness and stuff like that. But I also like the very extremely cosmic parts, and this is one of the cosmic parts, I think. Um, so the Forgotten Song really talks about the we're blind in this world, in the ego's world, forgetting the truth, and it contrasts our blindness with what vision can show us. And it says we're blind in this world because we we believe everything here is true on one level, and we learn our painful lessons here, and that reinforces our belief in that this world is true and all there is, and we forget the what the truth and what vision can show us. Ken Wapnick talks about veils of amnesia. I forget how many he says there are, but like we've forgotten, and then we've forgotten that we've forgotten, and stuff like that. So the truth is so far removed from our experience as to be almost um, completely out of awareness. But the forgotten song is not entirely forgotten. There's a memory that still remains despite everything, and this is what we're going to tune into in this meditation. Um, so I don't suppose we're actually going to reach the truth, but this is a reminder, the song that reminds us of the truth, of heaven, of God. Um, and I think this is just about having an experience of embracing these and absorbing these words, and just seeing what experience we have. I'm looking forward to the feedback afterwards. So here we go. So if you get comfortable and close your eyes. The Forgotten Song. This is just from paragraph 4 of that section. It's chapter 21, section 1, from paragraph 4. The blind become accustomed to their world by their adjustments to it. They think they know their way about in it. They learned it not through joyous lessons, but through the stern necessity of limits they believed they could not overcome. And still believing this, they hold those lessons dear and cling to them because they cannot see. They do not understand the lessons keep them blind. And so they keep the world they learn to see in their imagination, believing that their choice is that or nothing. And everything they think is in it serves to remind them that they are incomplete and bitterly deprived. Thus they define their life and where they live, adjusting to it as they think they must, afraid to lose the little that they have. And so it is with all who see the body as all they have and all their brothers have. Listen and try to think, if you remember, what we will speak of now. Listen. Perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state, not quite forgotten, dim perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar, like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody, attached not to a person or a place or anything in particular. But you remember from just this little part How lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing, yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you have learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in the world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen and see if you remember an ancient song you knew, an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since. Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle. And all the circle fills with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappear, and what is in it is no longer contained at all. The light expands and covers everything, extending to infinity, forever shining and with no break or limit anywhere. Within it, everything is joined in perfect continuity. Nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there is nowhere that this light is not. This is the vision of the Son of God, whom you know well. Here is the sight of him who knows his Father. Here is the memory of what you are, a part of this with all of it within, and joined to all as surely as all is joined in you. Accept the vision that can show you this and not the body. You know the ancient song and know it well. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as this. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as this ancient hymn of love the Son of God sings to his Father still. And now the blind can see. For that same song they sing in honor of their Creator gives praise to them as well. The blindness that they made will not withstand the memory of this song. And they will look upon the vision of the Son of God, remembering who he is they sing of. What is a miracle but this remembering? And who is there in whom this memory lies not? The light in one awakens it in all. And when you see your brother, you are remembering it for everyone.
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 16 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Norman, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you very much, Ian. I would just like to say it was a real eye-opener, or a soul opener. I remembered song. I wrote a few notes down because I got interrupted at the very start there with a postman. And the forgotten song really, really did mean something. And sometimes I wrote a few notes, as I say, and it really pressed all my buttons, practically every word. And I wrote, as I say, I wrote these wee notes down. It's like we have a wee mountain range here, and the highest one's called Slave Donard. And the first time I walked up it, you have to stop for rests quite a while, and you think to yourself, is this worth the effort? Is it really worth the effort? But when you get to the top and you look and see what you can see, the whole world seems to change. It's just a whole different aspect. But at the time, you don't realize just what you're looking at. But it's certainly not your day-to-day daily life. And then you come back down into it again, you forget what the view was like. And that's like a memory of what we have left behind, where we should be in heaven. And we've just forgotten that that's where we are. And then I refuse to believe that I created the world I see. I said, I couldn't have created all this. That's daft. You know, something wrong here. But the more I thought about it, if I give everybody all the attributes they have. They don't have them. I gave it to them. And it's only in my mind that they exist. And if I can do that with every single person that I have met, that means I have created the world I see. It's as simple as that. Oh, goodness me. Hang on a minute. You can't go around telling people that, and I wouldn't. But I feel safe here. But you know, if anybody else listening to this would lock me up. But and then I thought, what else did I write down? And the word I see is not real because minds are joined. So because minds are joined, everybody reinforces what everybody else is saying. An ego world, an untruthful existence which isn't there. And the miracles, when they happen, show us that this is totally unreal because they sort of lift us out of it for a while. And I have experienced miracles by doing absolutely nothing. And if I try and explain it to somebody, they look at you as if you've got two heads. And again, it's only here and feel safe doing it. And as I say, after a while, you realize the forgotten song is we've forgotten we're in heaven. And the song is that I'm part of a heavenly choir. I'm singing away or being joyful or totally blessed by nothingness. But for this world, it can never do. But the whole heaven that is heaven is just pure bliss. And the whole instant just gives us a wee reflection of that. And then the couple that I've experienced, I realize I can't join because you'd be no use. It's like the mountain experience or a plane. As you fly off in a plane, you look down, everything gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it totally disappears. And then you go through the clouds into the beautiful light, but you can't stay up there. You have to land back down again because you'd be no use to anybody. And I think it's a bit like you can realize how close you can get, but if you join totally, that's it. You're in heaven, and you can't come back down. except that, if it's a real emergency and there are angels that come down, Jesus came back, and thank goodness he did. And thank God. So it's been a whole. So I'll not take up any more time, but everything just was fitted together. So I'm highly delighted. Shaking a wee bit as well. So thank you very much.
Wow, Norman, a lot of very clear analogies there. Thank you. Going up to the top of the hill and flying in the plane and everything. My own experience actually is looking and beginning. I've begun to look at the world dispassionately. Yeah, I'm still here. I have not really experienced that golden light encompassing everything and everything that is as described in the in that section of heaven, but somewhat of a detachment from the dramas of life and the world. I shall experience them. Sometimes I get caught up in them. Often I get caught up in them, but there's definitely been a shift, more of a dispassionate observing of the world, and less involvement than there was. Sorry, I don't know what that's got to do with what you were saying, but
Who'd like to share? Lottie, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Ian, for taking us to that passage, which is so beautiful. I feel as if I've been to infinity this morning, the brightest of light and the deepest of experience and the warmest of welcomes. It was just beautiful, surrounded by love. Thank you.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you, Lottie. Glad you had that experience. It's lovely.
Jim, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Ian. It's a while since I've read that, but it is a beautiful piece of poetry. And one of the things that stood out for me was that we've forgotten that we've forgotten. And this reminds us really of the need for humility, because quite often I can read a lesson and think I've understood it. But unless it's really transformed every part of my life, I haven't. I've just remembered that I've forgotten. And to go beyond that, to actually remember, is another big step. Although sometimes it seems like a fairly small step, and it's both really. To the ego, it is a big step, but it can be a small step if I really hear the words. But it's it is poetry, that passage, that part of the course, and as I say, I hadn't heard previously. This is one of those things that bears hearing again and again, because I just hadn't heard previously that we have forgotten that we have forgotten. It reminds me of Donald Rumsfeld's unknown unknowns. We just don't know that we don't know. And yeah, it was lovely to hear again. Anyway, Ian, thank you.
Well, I think spot on, Jim, what you said. We read something, we understand it, or we think we understand it, but they say, I don't know who said it, you perhaps know, that understanding is the booby prize. Because understanding it is not it. And I think the nearest we can get to it is not the understanding, it's the experience that we have while we're hearing or reading
Yes,
that passage. It's almost in the body. If that's seems like a contradiction, really, but that's how I think of it. That's where my experience. That's the experience.
I think that's right. It does need to be embodied so that it works.
Yeah.
Without thinking. A miracle, cannot be planned or thought about. It just happens. and it happens in response to something that we've really heard. And so that song of prayer puts it so well.
Who said "I Understand" is the Booby Prize? Do you know? It's quite a famous.
I think it's probably Ken Wapnick. I don't know, but I think it's probably Ken Wapnick.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
don't
it
know.
is.
I don't know.
Could be.
Okay, who'd like to share? Evelyn, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Dan. Gosh, yes, everyone. Thank you, Ian, for reading that. Yes, I also hadn't heard that. It's a long time since I heard that or read that passage. And but even then, I just feel as if I'm hearing it again for the first time. And it's such a beautiful reading, and reminds me, because I feel that that song had become so dim, and with so much clanging going on in the world that I'm listening to, and within myself, that I'd forgotten it, and it's such a beautiful passage and a beautiful remembering. So it couldn't be more perfect for me. And I really want to keep reminding myself, if that's not a contradiction, because I just forget so much. There's just so much going on in the world that I'm listening to the wrong song. And so thank you. It's just beautiful, and what a lovely reading. Yeah, it's all priceless. The course and the Miracle Network. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bless you.
So not only have we forgotten, we need to remind ourselves to remind ourselves. Yes, okay. Got that. I think that's useful, yeah. Regular reminders. We definitely need to do that.
Who'd like to share? Sue, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Ian. That was amazing. As you started the reading, and it was talking about the world, I've been reading how the world creates the self-image, but then the self-image creates the world. And it's like everything reinforces everything else. The more we get caught up in the world, the more we think everything's terrible. The more we think everything's terrible, the more things get bad in the world. And then you came to the light, and one light, the light awakens in one. And I saw this altar covered in just ordinary little white candles. And one of them lit up just spontaneously, and the whole lot blazed in fantastic light. And then when we went into the quiet part, I was getting images of different things that I've experienced in my life that remind me of the echoes of the song. And as the meditation went through, I was getting this really strong sense of it's a dichotomy. It was beautiful and I was loving it, but I was also getting a sense of dissatisfaction. And this crystallized for me. It was like this sentence dropped into my mind. I don't want the echoes. I want the song. How do I get the song? How can I remember the song and not just the little bits that wake the joy, but also the yearning? And it was, you've got to wake up. You've got to wake up to what is real. And that was like this whole sense of strength and power came into me from I don't know where. And that stayed with me until the final bell. It was near the end of the quiet when I got to that. But I just want to thank you for that experience and that is going to be one of those things that I come back to again and again and again. When the doubts come in and can this really be real? You know, all that ego stuff. This is going to be one of those things that I hang my hope on. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. I'm really pleased it was so powerful for you. And you asked how we get there. How do we get there? I just thought of the journey without distance. Yeah, we've got nowhere to go because we haven't gone anywhere. But to get back to where we never left, there's a journey without distance. It's still a journey, so it's a process. In other words, step by step. But I think having that impatience or disenchantment, or forget the word you use now, or if that can be as a spur to move on, an incentive, that's great. But it can go the other way. And of course, talks about this somewhere. I've forgotten when we get so disillusioned, disheartened with the world, it can lead to, well, it's suggesting, people who commit suicide, who kill themselves, they can't take it anymore. But it can be the spur to move forward as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all of you for being here. And Ian, thank you for a wonderful reading, and it was a beautiful way to go into meditation. Take yourself off mute, show your appreciation to Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you,
Thank
Ian.
you, Ian.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Miracle Network.
Thank you,
Thank
Ian.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
All the
Thank
best,
you, Ian.
Linda.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.